First, let's explain to people the science behind Far-UVC 222 nanometers and the difference between everything else.
Okay, so for decades, 8 or 9 decades now, we've had UVC lighting. UVC lighting has been known to be able of deactivating or inactivating pathogens, viruses, bacteria, by essentially deactivating and distorting the bonds that hold them together, thymine bonds within their DNA, RNA structures. What's new today is we have this new type of UVC. It's called Far-UVC. It's 222 nanometers, as you said. And this 222 nanometers is equally devastating to the pathogens, and in cases, maybe even a bit more in some cases, but has some very, very novel other factors associated with it. And one of those factors is it does not disturb the human body. It does not penetrate the body. It does not penetrate our skin. It does not penetrate our eyes. And there has been marvelous research done a lot by Dr. Brenner over at Columbia University for the past decade and others around the world that have noticed that this is a very good antiviral, antipathogen type of light frequency, but it doesn't disturb the human body. It is non-mutagenic to us.
Bring us up to speed about the potential applications for 222 and where it makes most sense to put it.
So that confluence of events, as well as the way this particular pathogen we're looking at today, this COVID pathogen, is spreading, and the way it does spread, and the way it is aerosolized, and we're worried about what's happening in the air, leads us to the point where we have to figure out ways we could treat the air and treat the surface in a space we intend to occupy in real time. And that's really what the high point is of this type of technology. This is really where we're pushing it, because we can occupy a space and at the same time utilize 222 nanometer light to clean it for us. We can clean our surfaces, we can clean our air, we can reduce that pathogen load in the space as we use it, and sort of approach what new normal is going to be.
So how long does it take to basically clean air, clean surfaces? I know that's a product of distance and light, but to the extent to which you could simplify, how long does it take?
It's a product of distance, light, and time. If you toggle any of those three, you could reduce it or increase it. But it's between seconds in the very near field to some minutes in a more distant field. So within a space, the air we're most concerned about, which is the air that rises, those can be deactivated significantly in some seconds, but the surfaces within that space in some minutes.
So let's talk about the uses that people are particularly nervous about, like a subway. How could it be helpful on a subway? We're in New York City, right? I mean, when I'm talking to my team and talking to people, I'd say that's one of the biggest concerns people have is, how do I get back on the subway? I don't want to be in confined space. I don't want to be in elevators. You just make it a little bit less abstract. Like, is there a billboard now? You know, Dr. Oz, then the next one is UV light, Far-UVC?
No, I think what happens within those type of confined spaces, we know how these pathogens spread. We know we can simply, I mean, here's an example. This is a light, an emitter, a 222 nanometer plasma emitter. It plugs directly into a socket like a light bulb would. These can go in and retrofit into lighting fixtures or be custom made to fit a subway car or an elevator car, and be utilized simply to bring 222 in that environment and clean that air and clean that space in real time. So that if we have to enter a car, if we have to enter a subway car or an elevator car, we know it's being cleaned in real time and it's reducing that pathogen load within that space simultaneous to using it.
So it's hitting the surfaces, it's hitting the air. And now more people come in and out, obviously new viral load comes in and it's doing the same thing, over and over again, right?
And that's why it's so important, right? So the other technologies that are out there today tell us, go treat everything once, go wipe everything down very well, go turn on a blaster and clean it. But then as soon as we start utilizing that space again, that space gets dirty. What's so great about 222 nanometers is it allows us to take this same technology, use it in a human-friendly way so that we can inhabit an environment in real time and have it constantly being cleaned.
I think people have a hard time fathoming if this really could be the holy grail. Why hasn't it been adopted before? Why hasn't it been adopted right this second? Like, paint a picture about what you're dealing with. I know you're on the front lines, running all over. You just got back from New York. Now you're back in Florida. You'll be flying somewhere tomorrow. Just give us a sense, because that, I think, is the number one skepticism. If it's so great, why aren't we doing it?
It's a reasonably new technology. It's been around for a little over a decade and a half. And it's really been thoroughly studied over this last decade. And as all technologies go, how we utilize it, it takes a while to want to deploy it. It's a more expensive technology to deploy, to be frank, right now, because it's just not used yet in any kind of significant volumes. And we have this we were trained. My mother and my grandmother trained me. UV, I'll put on sunscreen. Be careful with yourself. It's a different kind of UV. It's a different kind of light. And we know that light has many effects on the human body and many effects on pathogens, many effects on plants. So it shouldn't be surprising that with time we discover some new portion of that light spectrum that gives us a new utilization. And that's exactly what this is. And so our challenge today is really an education one. It's telling people we have a solution that, along with everything else, don't not wear your mask, don't not wash your hands, but along with everything else we're trying to do, will help limit this pathogen from becoming a contagion to us.